Hey parents, Carmine here with your video review of Titanfall 2.
Get to cover, pilot. We're taking down that wall.
I don't know what's happening this year. I think there's something wrong with me, guys. I mean, at first, it was just liking Call of Duty, which, I mean, that's something to be concerned about, but on its own, maybe it's just a fluke. Maybe there's something wrong, but now, guys, I didn't like Titanfall 2. I loved the first Titanfall. I loved the fast-paced wall-running multiplayer and calling in Titans and crushing grunts and specters left and right, but now, Titanfall 2 is really different. I mean, the differences are subtle. If you're looking at just the highlight reels, you won't really notice it. I mean, all of the same elements are there. You're calling in Titans and killing grunts and running on walls, but the subtle changes made a huge difference. It takes a lot longer to call in Titans, and once they're on the field, they're extremely weak. I mean, I'm not expecting to be able to take on 5 enemy Titans all by myself, but I kind of expect to last more than 30 seconds in the field before having to eject. And in my early hours of the first Titanfall, I wasn't really much in the way of competition with the other players, but the abundance of AI enemies made it so that not only could I work my way up the progression system, but I could actually actively contribute to my team's score in a meaningful way. But the number of AI in the battlefield in Titanfall 2 is significantly reduced, and many of those that are present have a lot more health. Why would I stand still shooting at one AI enemy when there are human enemies around every corner? And the campaign, it's so frustrating to even talk about. The pinnacle of the multiplayer, my favorite part of the entire experience, is calling in my Titan. It's the thing that makes everything feel better, like you're calling in a beacon of hope and power and might just turn the tides of battle. And I purposely said calling in my Titan, not just a Titan, because even if I could rodeo someone else's Titan right into victory, it would merely be a way to challenge myself, but it wouldn't really be the same as calling in my Ogre, equipping my triple threat, and slowly stomping across the battlefield, raining orb-like mines of death and destruction as I progressed. But that never happens in the campaign. You use someone else's Titan. You're off on a mission to stop some super weapon, even though you don't really figure that out until halfway through the story. You're fighting mercenaries in the cheesiest way possible. They even take the time to get out of their Titans and taunt you at the start of each battle. And while there are plenty of sections and levels that were fun to play, especially that time manipulation level, that was awesome. These were stuck in the middle of a campaign bookended by dull, pointless, linear missions. I expect better from the guys that made Titanfall 1. I expect better from the guys that made Modern Warfare 1 and 2. I expect better from a game that allegedly focused on mech combat and the duality of man and machine versus man and machine. Violence is the only factor in this game, but the violence in this game is pretty standard for a first-person shooter. Hits from almost all weapons result in some blood when firing at human enemies, but gore is extremely rare. On top of that, many of the enemies in both the campaign and multiplayer are robotic, which means that shooting them results in no blood or gore at all. This is especially true when the player engages in battle against enemy Titans. What you're seeing right now is 97% of what I saw throughout the entire game. Now the other 3% comes from explosive weapons and other high damage attacks when used against human enemies. In these cases, the enemies will explode into blood and chunks. Overall, it was pretty rare to see in my playthrough, but did happen a bit more frequently once I got a rocket launcher in the campaign. Even so, this was a tiny fraction of the violent content and an even tinier fraction of the overall game. As with Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, I know my feelings about Titanfall 2 are in the minority, but after finishing this game and thinking about it for a while, I can't help but feel like the developers didn't show the same level of passion in this work. There are definitely ideas that show real creativity and innovation, but the new Titan classes and abilities made my Titan feel less like a giant robot and more like a Titan or god, and I mean that in a literary sense. On foot I am fast, and my Titan I am powerful, but the moments of greatness, the ebbs and flows of the battle that I got in the first Titanfall felt absent here. Titanfall 2 really did feel like Call of Duty with mechs rather than its own unique experience. It's a subtle difference that many players might miss or might even really like, but as for me, I'll be sticking with the original Titanfall. As a result of the violence, we gave this game a recommended age of 12 years old. Titanfall 2 and Watch Dogs 2 tied in this month's poll. I'm starting work on Watch Dogs 2, but if what I've read so far is true, I'll have my work cut out for me. December's poll is up on Patreon, so look out for that and more games coming soon.